All right, everybody, buckle up. Because today, we're diving deep into the mind of a killer with Dostoyevsky's Crime and Punishment.
Oh yeah, this one's a wild ride.
You've given us the excerpts from the book itself, and let me tell you, we are in for a treat.
Dostoyevsky, he doesn't mess around.
Not at all. We're talking psychological thriller, masterpiece level.
Absolute.
So to set the scene, think St. Petersburg in the 1800s.
A city on the edge.
Right. Buzzing with new ideas, social change, but also just drowning in poverty.
It was a really intense time.
And right in the thick of it, we meet Rodion Raskolnikov.
Our main man.
He's this former student, super bright, kind of handsome.
Proud.
Oh, incredibly proud, but dirt poor. And clinging to some, let's just say, interesting beliefs.
Dostoyevsky loved those tortured souls.
And boy, does he put them through the ringer. Now, you can't talk Crime and Punishment without, well, the crime.
Of course.
But here's the thing, Dostoyevsky, he knew how to build suspense. We don't actually witness the murder right away. Instead, we're right there in Raskolnikov's head. He overhears this little conversation, something about a pawnbroker being home alone.
And it's like a light bulb goes off.
Exactly, like something just clicks. And you see, Raskolnikov is already on edge, totally humiliated by being poor, obsessed with proving he's somehow extraordinary.
Above it all.
Yeah, and then this opportunity just falls into his lap.
It makes you wonder, was it all planned, or did Dostoyevsky, orchestrate the perfect storm in this guy's mind?
You said it. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You
Right.
know you can't look away. But then it gets even more intense because we have to deal with his reasoning for this horrific act.
Oh, his justification.
Right, his whole extraordinary man theory.
Which is fascinating, right? This idea that certain people, think Napoleon, they operate on a different moral plane altogether.
But like they're above the law or something.
Right, exactly.
Can you imagine trying to use that defense in court these days? Your Honor, my client, well, he was just feeling a tad extraordinary.
It happens.
Right. But seriously, Dostoyevsky uses this theory to ask some really big questions. Can a good outcome ever actually justify something morally reprehensible?
That's the question.
And is Raskolnikov really extraordinary? Or is he just, compensating for something else?
Maybe a little of both.
And as if things weren't complicated enough, enter Porfiry Petrovich, the investigator.
This guy.
This isn't your typical detective. He's like a mind reader, a master manipulator. He can see right through Raskolnikov, knows he's guilty, but instead of brute force, he uses philosophy, even flattery.
It's a chess match of the minds.
Totally. But honestly, even with Porfiry circling, the real punishment seems to be happening inside Raskolnikov's head.
Oh, absolutely.
This dude is coming apart at the seams. He's paranoid, having nightmares, even faints in public.
Talk about a guilty conscience.
And Dostoyevsky, he was a genius at getting into the psychology of it all.
He really was.
Is it guilt eating Raskolnikov alive, or is it the fear of getting caught?
Dostoyevsky, he doesn't make it easy for us to decide.
And that's what makes it so good.
Exactly.
And then there's Svidrigailov, this character who feels like a glimpse into what Raskolnikov could become if he fully embraces the darkness.
Oh yes, Fyodor.
Wealthy, seems to want to help Raskolnikov's sister, Dunya, which is nice.
He's a complicated one. Let's just say his moral compass is a bit off.
A bit. It's like looking in a funhouse mirror of morality.
Right.
And speaking of Dunya, her family struggles. They add this whole other layer to the story. Dostoyevsky does not shy away from how brutal poverty was in Russia back then.
Not at all.
I mean, Sonia turning to prostitution to support her family, Katerina Ivanovna washing clothes all night just to survive.
Just trying to keep their heads above water.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
And their father, Marmeladov, losing his job, drinking too much, then getting hit by a carriage.
Talk about tragic.
It's like a Greek tragedy unfolding right there in the pages.
Dostoyevsky wanted us to see the human cost of it all.
And it makes you think, even after committing murder, Raskolnikov still gives that family his last 20 rubles.
Wow.
The conflicting emotions, it's like Dostoyevsky is asking, can a murderer also be capable of compassion?
Can anyone truly be just one thing?
And nowhere is that more clear than with Raskolnikov himself.
Right.
He confesses, but is it out of actual guilt, or did Porfiry's mind games just finally work?
Yeah, good question.
Even being sent off to Siberia doesn't really give us a clear answer.
It's true.
Dostoyevsky, he keeps us guessing.
He does. He leaves that ending open. And we used to think, Is real redemption even possible after something so awful?
No easy answers.
Not at all. He doesn't wrap it up neatly. He wants us to keep turning it over in our minds.
And then there's Sonia going with him to Siberia.
Oh, Sonia.
Adds a whole other level.
It really does.
Is it love, loyalty, some shared darkness they both understand?
It's like she's this constant light, compassion, faith, even when things are bleak.
Yeah.
Her choosing to go to that desolate place with him, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, there's hope there.
For healing, for finding meaning, even in the suffering.
Exactly. It's like Dostoyevsky is saying, look, even in the darkest parts of humanity,
There's still room for
grace,
Yeah.
something that's like redemption.
But he doesn't make it a guarantee.
Not at all.
He leaves us with these big questions.
Oh, the huge ones.
Morality, justice, what even is good and evil?
That's what makes Crime and Punishment so powerful, so timeless.
It sticks with you.
It really does. Long after you put the book down.
Speaking of sticking with you, one thing that got me was how Dostoyevsky uses St. Petersburg.
Oh,
It's like another character.
Totally.
The city itself is like a reflection of how Raskolnikov is feeling.
Absolutely. The heat, those cramped rooms, the crowds everywhere, the grime, the poverty.
It just feels,
Suffocating.
yeah.
Like being trapped, which is exactly how Raskolnikov is feeling inside.
It's like the city's closing in on him as he goes deeper into darkness.
Exactly.
And speaking of dark, we can't forget those dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Vivid, disturbing.
And
They're this window into his subconscious.
absolutely. Like that horse getting beaten, so much symbolism there.
Talk about symbolism, right?
Dostoevsky is giving us access to all that unspoken anxiety, that guilt Raskolnikov's trying to bury.
Yeah.
And the horse, it represents innocence, being vulnerable, and it gets caught in the crossfire of his turmoil.
It's a powerful image.
It really is.
And it's not just the dreams. There's a religious undercurrent running through the whole thing,
Oh,
too.
definitely.
You've got Sonia. She's like faith and compassion in human form, pushing Raskolnikov to confess, to seek forgiveness.
And you see him struggling with that,
Yeah.
wrestling with his idea of sin, of atonement.
Dostoyevsky, he doesn't make those answers easy.
Not at all.
He makes you think.
He really, really does. It's fascinating because even though Raskolnikov, does this horrific thing,
Yeah.
you still see he's human.
You do.
Those glimpses of wanting to connect, of having some kind of moral compass.
Right.
His relationship with Sonia is a perfect example.
Absolutely. He confesses to her, which is huge.
Right.
And she chooses to support him, offer him hope when things are so dark. So, like, the power of compassion, It really is. Like Dostoevsky is saying, even in the worst of humanity, there's still that chance for change.
For finding redemption through love, through faith.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember, Dostoevsky doesn't let him off the hook.
No, he doesn't.
Raskolnikov still has to face what he did. Going to Siberia, prison life, that's part of it, part of his path.
And that's what makes Crime and Punishment so thought-provoking. It's not just a crime story, it's about psychology, about social injustice.
The big picture.
It gets under your skin.
Exactly. Dostoevsky, he leaves us with more questions than answers.
Which maybe that is the point.
It might be. He wants us to think hard about this stuff, about what we believe,
It's like he's holding up a mirror to us, humanity, warts and all.
showing us the beauty and the ugly parts.
The capacity for love, but also for violence.
And he does it all against this backdrop of society changing so fast.
Yeah, old versus new, clashing.
Poverty, injustice, pushing people to their limits.
It's like St. Petersburg itself is pushing everyone.
In a way, it is.
And in the middle of all that, you have Raskolnikov struggling with himself, trying to justify it all with that extraordinary man idea.
Which, let's be real, it's a tempting idea.
Oh, it is. To be above the rules, above morality.
Intoxicating.
Right. But Dostoevsky shows us what that leads to. Isolation, madness.
Self-destruction.
It's like a warning.
It really is.
A warning we should listen to even now.
Definitely.
Makes you think, what would I have done if I were Raskolnikov? Would I fall for that same kind of thinking?
It's a question worth asking, even today. I mean, Crime and Punishment, it was written over 100 years ago, but the themes, the guilt, morality, redemption,
Still relevant.
totally.
Yeah.
That's why it keeps hitting people. Generation after generation, it gets under your skin.
It makes you deal with the messiest parts of being human, right?
Yeah, those hard questions about good and evil can we even be forgiven? Can we forgive ourselves?
It's heavy stuff.
It is. But I think that's what makes it so great, so real.
It stays with you.
It does. It makes you think.
So if you want a book that's going to challenge you, make you see the world differently.
And yourself, really.
Exactly. Then Crime and Punishment is it. Just be ready. It's intense.
A wild ride.
For sure. And there you have it. I hope this deep dive has shown you a little bit of why Dostoyevsky, he's just on another level.
He really is a master.
This has been great.
It has. Really enjoyed talking about this with you.
Me too. And listener, remember, this was just a taste. There's so much more to Crime and Punishment. So many layers to peel back.
Symbolism everywhere.
Right. So pick up a copy, see what you discover. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep.